Hi guys, we want to go through and give you a video about how to start writing equations for word problems, since it's something we need to go over a little bit more. The first thing we're going to focus on is just defining your variable, which is choosing which letter you are going to use as your variable.
So remember, when we are dealing with choosing variables, remember our conversation that we had in school before this craziness happened. There are certain letters that we don't want to use as variables. Remember, we want to avoid using the letter O because it looks like the number 0, and we want to avoid using the letter L because it looks like the number 1. And remember, when you're writing your variables, they should always be lowercase. Give it to Mrs. Prange with her neat handwriting. And then once you start to identify what that variable is, you have to describe what that variable represents, and you need to be as specific as possible.
For example, if we have a question that's talking about apples, we don't want to just say like A equals apples. We want to say A is the cost of the apples, or A is the number of apples that someone bought. Don't just kind of take the easy way out, give as much of a description as you can. And finally, how do you know what that variable is going to be? It's actually pretty easy. You just have to look to see what the question's asking you to find. Whatever it's asking you to find is going to be that missing information. And so that's what we're going to make the variable.
So we're going to move on to some examples here to show you what we're talking about. So example A, Jerry bought trains at the toy store. He then gave 15 away and had 9 left. How many trains did Jerry buy at the store? So what is this question asking us to find? How many trains did Jerry buy at the store? And the one thing that Mrs. Prange and I want you to maybe try to do is underline or highlight or circle that question. So here I can see Jerry, wants to know how many trains did Jerry buy at the store. So for me, a variable that I might pick might be the letter T. And I may say T, and that's not just going to stand for trains, but I want to be specific and say that T is going to stand for the number of trains that Jerry bought. As Mrs. Prange did shorten the word, it's okay. You can use your symbols for that.
Okay. For B, it says from 1990 to 2000, the population of Cresco, Iowa increased by 236. The population in 2000 was 3,905. What was the population in 1990? So once again, I'm looking to see what is that question asking me to find. And it says, what was the population in 1990? So I think a good variable to use in this case would be P. And I'm not just going to say P is population because I need to be more specific as to when we're talking about. We're going to say population in 1990.
Notice we're not writing any equations yet. We just want you guys to define the variable. Okay, so in this example, the advertised price of a DVD player was $185 after a $30 mail-in rebate. What is the price of the DVD player before the rebate is applied? So right now what we want you to do is try it on your own. What variable do you think would work, and define that variable? Okay, so we are going to go with, I would say, lowercase d, and I'm going to say, oops, Mrs. Prange,
That was a highlighter.
I'm going to go with, some people might say, hey, I want to use the lowercase letter p, and that's fine as well, but I'm going to say d, and that d stands for the price of the DVD player, but I'm not going to stop there because there's different prices. There's a price of the DVD player before the rebate, and there's price after. This variable is standing for the price of the DVD player before the rebate.
Okay, next one, number 2. The Great Pyramid in Egypt was built around 2560 BC. Over the years, it has lost 30 feet of height off its top and is now 451 feet tall. Find the original height of the Great Pyramid. So once again, go ahead and try to do this one on your own. Okay? There's no question in here. However, that last sentence does ask us to find the original height of the Great Pyramid. So I'm going to say let's choose H. Once again, it doesn't matter what letter you choose, okay? But H equals original height of that Great Pyramid.
And for some of you, you may have wanted to use the letter O because it's talking about the original height. But remember, that's one of those letters that we said to not use as a variable. Okay, question 3. During the 2002 regular season of the National Football League, running back Michael Bennett played in 16 games and averaged 81 rushing yards per game. What were his total rushing yards for the season? So again, give you a couple of seconds to define that variable. Try it on your own. And I'm looking at that last question. If you haven't found a pattern yet, that last question or statement tends to be leading us to helping you define that variable. So what were his total rushing yards for the season? I might go with the variable y, and we are talking about that y is going to stand for the total rushing yards for the season. Remember, be as specific, because I can say total rushing yards for a game, total rushing yards for his career, but in this particular problem, it's talking about the total rushing yards for the season.
Okay, and last one, number 4. One type of thermal ice drill can drill through ice at a rate of 15 feet per minute by using heat to melt the ice. Find the time it takes the drill to melt through a sheet of ice 75 feet thick. Okay, so once again, define the variable on your own. Apparently, I keep getting the ones that don't actually have questions, but this one says find the time it takes to drill the drill to melt through a sheet of ice. So I'm going to say T, and it's going to be time. And I'm going to actually take this one a step further because time can be, hours, seconds, minutes. So I'm going to go back and look at the question. And because that rate is in 15 feet per minute, I can even be more specific and say time in minutes to melt the ice.
That looks like that's it for this, right?
Yes.
Okay, so next lesson is to be continued, but we are hoping that this video was a little bit more helpful. And we will reach out to you guys through our Google Classroom. Bye.
Bye.